if than the current state of affairs in the West. But if the Georgias, Floridas, and Tennessees of the world are rolling, I don't know that you can use a conventional playbook, their playbook, at Carolina and realistically expect to contend on an annual basis for the SEC East. So number one, am I right or wrong? Number two, either way, what different are they doing at Carolina than the other programs are doing that would hopefully give them some sort of a unique edge in this Eastern Division race that's only going to get more competitive?
Well, I think when you look at it from that standpoint, you're right. I think you have to be a special preparation offensively, and I think defensively you have to have a guy that can coach. And I think South Carolina, their issues on defense last year, that was a function of having just about all of their starters injured and having to play a bunch of true freshmen. I mean, I think they had 10 on the field at one point against Clemson, 10 on the field at one point in the Belk Bowl. And Muschamp's defense is unique enough. A lot of people are like, oh, it's Saban's defense or it's Kirby Smart's defense. There's a lot of different wrinkles with Muschamp. You get a lot more nickel. You get a lot more exotic fronts with Muschamp. There's a lot of different things that happen with the secondary with him that are just a little bit different than Kirby Smart and Nick Saban. So you don't necessarily have to have, the Kirby Smart and Nick Saban personnel to run it successfully, in my opinion. I mean, Florida had really good personnel when he was there, and they had a really good defense, but it wasn't at the level of what Alabama's done or what, you were talking about earlier with Georgia and their 9 outside linebackers that are all going to play in the NFL. Offensively, I think they're on the right track. I think there was last year it was feast or famine. You had things like the Clemson game where they had 610 yards against a defense that was pretty doggone salty. You had the Ole Miss game that went 48-44. They beat Missouri 37-35 with a backup quarterback. It was the best offense statistically Will Muschamp has ever had. But it was also with a first-year offensive coordinator in Brian McClendon. And I think that, they're on the right path in terms of being – a special prep. I don't think many teams, Josh, in the SEC period, outside of Alabama and Georgia, are going to be able to line up and run it at you and pound you all day. I think even LSU, as talented as they are, they tried that with Les Miles, and it cost him his job. Florida now is a special preparation with Dan Mullen and what he does. The spread option, baby. That's the deal there. Overall, in the East, Florida had a good finish last year. They came back and beat the Gamecocks, blew out Idaho, blew out Florida State, and blew out Michigan to end the season and win 10 games and remaining in the top 10. That being said, let's not confuse coming back on the Gamecocks, blowing out Idaho, blowing out Florida State, and blowing out a Michigan team that was going to the playoff before Ohio State tattooed them in the friggin' Peach Bowl with the Gators are back. This is still a team that lost to Kentucky for the first time in 30 years, was blown away by Missouri at home, and really was competitive for the first half against Georgia and then folded like everybody else does. So the Gators had some nice wins last year, but they have not arrived yet. I think Tennessee will be better this year, but they've still got some culture issues to solve. And so if you're South Carolina, you do have some time, I think, to continue to make upward mobility in the SEC East. I think Kentucky will take a step back. Missouri will be about the same. And then, of course, there's Vanderbilt. So I think there's still time for the Gamecocks to get back in that top 3, top 2 range. And then if you think about it, if they do that in the next couple of years, we're going on a decade, Josh, where South Carolina's been a legitimate contender most seasons in the East, going back to 2010 when they won it. So I think that's what you want to do if you're the Gamecocks right now.